channel. I'll be with you in a second. Welcome back to another episode of Car Talk. This is episode 2. Now, episode 1 went down a treat. You guys were saying that you found the information helpful. So we're going to be continuing. And in this episode, I'm actually off to collect some parts for my Mark 7 Golf R rebuild. I've had that on pause because I've been concentrating on the M4 and the M135i. And I'm coming to you from my M135i. If you haven't seen the build, I'll give you a quick reminder. I hope you enjoy that. But we're here in the 135i. I've got a long drive and I thought, it's car talk, so I'm gonna bring it to you from the car, exactly what it says, and you're gonna be tagging along with me, and I'm gonna be talking all things to do with budgets. Today it's all about budgets. I'm about to go pick up some parts. I've got a wad of cash in my pocket, and I thought it's the perfect time to talk about all things salvage and budgets. Trust me, we got a lot to go through. You know the deal. I'm gonna set a 10-minute timer, and then we're gonna keep it going. There we go, 10 minutes starts now. 10-minute timer on. Let's get started. Oh, firstly, how nice does this car sound? I don't know if you guys can hear it, but anyway, when you talk about budgets, I feel like budgets is all relative to the individual. So if you want to get started in the salvage game, let's say you've got $2,000 to spend. I personally feel $2,000 is a perfect budget. So I'll stay around the $2,000 mark, especially if you're starting out. Now, if you've got $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, I'm gonna give you free game, because these are things that I had to learn the hard way. If you're thinking, I'm just gonna get into the game, I'm gonna spend $10,000 and buy a flashy Mercedes or flashy BMW, and I'm gonna sell it for, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you now, I could have saved a hell of a lot of hassle, time, effort, all of those things if I had stuck to my guns and I had someone to tell me not to overdo it. And I'll tell you a story later on. But check this out. If you've got a $2,000 budget and you're gonna buy, let's say, a little Corsa, Fiesta, Focus, and you're gonna fix that car up on your $2,000 budget and you're gonna sell it for 4.5, let's say 4.5. These are all loose figures. So let's say you sell the car for 4.5, you're gonna make, let's say, $2,000 profit, give or take. So you've got your $2,000 profit. Now, imagine you say, I'm gonna go buy a BMW, like I said, for a lot more. So you're investing a hell of a lot more money. The risks and the stakes are a lot higher. Now, I've had it in the past where I'm gonna spend, let's say I spent $8,000. I spent $8,000 on a car one time. Imagine I spent $8,000 and then it's a newer car, so the parts are gonna be harder to find, a lot more headache to fix, and then the car is only valued, let's say, $13,000. People in the world right now, especially in the current economic climate, the person that's gonna have $13,000 cash, liquid cash, to come and pay you for a car, that person, they're A, hard to find, and B, they're gonna come looking for everything to be in pristine condition. They're gonna be meticulous in their checks and everything. So it's gonna be a lot harder to sell a $13,000 car that you've put an outlay of about $8,000-9,000, and you're gonna make similar profit margins to if you spent $2,000 and sold the car for $4,000. Now, obviously $4,000 is still a lot of money, but your average person who's gonna come and shell out $4,000 for a car for their loved ones, for themselves, for their kids, whatever the case might be, these type of people, or those kind of target groups of these are your customers. They're a lot easier to find, and the pool is going to be a lot larger than that smaller, more exclusive pool of people who's going to have the kind of money to spend on a more expensive car. So that is free game. Like, I learned that 110% the hard way, and I'm going to tell you this story quickly, because why I'm doing these shows, why I'm doing, you know, the sharing of this knowledge is, trust me, I've been through it and I've made these losses, and I'm now here to tell you guys what I've learned, you know, so that you don't make the same mistakes, and just to help you guys out, really. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you give me a like. It really helps me to know, should I continue doing these or not. But anyway, sorry, 1 second. This is proper car talk because I'm in the car, we're driving. So check this out. About 4 years ago, I had some spare cash and I thought I'm gonna invest it and I'm gonna buy a 2016 Audi A1. So bearing in mind, this is like 2018. Audi A1 is less than 2 years old. It's got 3,000 miles on the clock. Everything on the car was fresh. And in my head, I was thinking, you know, I was a bit younger and it's these experiences. I didn't have the experience that I've got now. So I went ahead and I went and bidded on this car at Copart and I bought this car for about 7-8 grand, 7.5, call it 7.5. Now, this, I'm gonna tell you, remember this A1 story because I'm gonna tell you this again when I talk about Copart. This car came up in the auction as a category in car, and when the car came, trust me, it was not a category in. There was extensive damage to the under tray, and yeah, I'll talk about that in a later video when I'm talking about Copart. But let's just say it should not have been a cat in. So that was my first downfall. Secondly, because I've spent 7.5 grand plus fees, so that's just shy of 8 grand, my total outlay was quite high already. So that meant I needed to sell the car for a lot more to make that money back and to make it worth my while, make some profit. But the car was valued at 16 grand. So in my head, I'm thinking, nah man, 8 grand, no problem. I'm gonna make that back and then some. Long story short, it took me a lot longer to fix that car. The parts were super expensive, super hard to find. Bearing in mind, it was just a 2-year-old car, so there weren't a lot of parts in circulation. I ended up having to spend a lot of money at the dealerships to get the parts brand new because I just couldn't find them. So it was just a money pit at this point. Fast forward a few months, I tried to sell the car for 14 grand. It's a category in, low mileage, one owner from new. Everything was in its favor. Full service, 2 keys, the lot. And I am telling you, it was like crickets, mate. Like, no one was interested because your average group of people who are going to be spending 15 grand, they're not going to spend 15 grand cash. They're going to go to the banks, they might get a loan, or they might go to a leasing garage. They'll go to the dealership and get a lease, get a finance agreement, and they will pay it that way. So this is key. If you are going to be getting into the salvage game, stay small, stay around 2 grand maximum in terms of buying your vehicle. When it comes to the parts, like me, I drive around a lot. Go to scrap yards, go find second-hand used parts. Obviously make sure that they're safe. If they're mechanical parts, make sure that they're full working order. But when it comes to your panels and stuff, go search around on eBay and always check in with your dealership. Sometimes, if you've seen my M4 build, I bought a used wing for that M4 build for $450 from eBay, assuming it's gonna be more expensive. And then when I went to, it ended up being wrong, and I ended up having to go to the dealership, and they had the brand new part for $385. So that's at least 60 odd pounds that I've saved there. And it's these little margins that add up, because trust me, if you save £60 here, £60 there, £60 there, it all adds up. So when it comes to budgeting, you have to be strict, and trust me, if you set yourself a budget, this is another important key fact as well. If you set yourself a budget, stick to that budget, don't go over. Even if the car looks nice and you're bidding, if that's your budget, stick to your budget. Just to recap, if you're starting out, I wouldn't spend more than 2 grand. Don't go buying expensive cars, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If it's a specific car that a specific buyer has told you they want and you want to do it that way, fair enough. But stay small, stay low, make sure you check out scrap yards, make sure you scour eBay, Facebook Marketplace, all of these places. And another key tip is, if you can't find the part, search for the same car that's breaking, and maybe you could go down with some cash like I'm doing today. Go down with some cash and you'll get the parts slightly a bit cheaper, because money talks. I've been in situations where on the phone, nah mate, £100 mate, £100. You get there, you strike up a little bit of a relationship. I'm a talker, so you strike up a bit of a relationship with the person, offer them 80, look mate, £80 live cash, I'm not taking the piss, I've driven all the way down, and trust me, money talks, and you can get a little bit of a saving that way, because every little helps. And there you have it, guys. You know, when you hear that alarm bell, that's the 10-minute mark. I hope that you found, hold on, I've blabbed on. I hope that you found some of that information on budgeting very helpful. If you have, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you feel like I've missed anything. I'm almost at my destination, so this is where I'm gonna check out. I hope you found it helpful. In tomorrow's episode, I got another cracking episode rebuilding one of my salvage cars, so make sure you tune in for that. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, press the subscribe button, and if you liked it, make sure you press the like button. So this is where we're gonna head out. So like I always say, keep it moving, and I'll see you in the next one. Guys, thank you for watching. Click here to see what YouTube thinks you should watch. Click here to watch one of my previous episodes. And like it said there, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We out.